Now, he is America's best-known billionaire who's blazing a trail to the White House. Donald Trump's presidential bid was initially written off by political insiders as a joke, but his campaign continues to pick up momentum, taking the states by storm, one primary at a time.
Well, I spoke exclusively to the man of the moment about terrorism, so-called Islamic State, and his controversial comments on Muslims. I began, though, by asking him for his reaction to the Brussels bombings.
Well, I think it's outrageous. I think that when they caught the young person, the person that was in charge, or I guess he probably wasn't totally in charge, they don't even know who was in charge of the Paris bombings. When they caught him, he was in his neighborhood and where he grew up, and nobody even turned him in, and supposedly this is retribution for that. I think it's a disgrace. I knew Brussels years ago, and I was there probably 3 or 4 times, and it was so beautiful and so secure and so safe. And now it's an armed camp, and I'm even talking before this new bombing. What's going on there and what's going on in many other locations like Paris and others is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace that we allow it to happen.
But in light of what's happened in Belgium and in Paris and indeed on mainland America, just clarify for me what you would do. If you were President of the United States tomorrow, what would you do and what would you tell countries in Europe to do to combat ISIS?
I would hit ISIS so hard you wouldn't believe it, and I'd get the people over there to put up their soldiers because it's about time that somebody did it. But I'd have such backup like you've never seen before in terms of air power, airstrikes, etc. And you've got to take them out, and you've got to take them out harshly, and you've got to take them out fast. And you have no choice. These people, you know, we're now in the age of chopping off heads. Nobody would have believed this was possible. And I would hit them very hard, very fast. I was against going into Iraq, if you remember, a long time ago. I was against it from the beginning. And that was a terrible mistake going into Iraq because it destabilized the entire Middle East. Then Obama got out in the worst possible way. He left nothing behind. He gave a date, which nobody could believe. But you've got to take out ISIS, despite all of that. You've got to take them out, and you've got to take them out fast and hard.
Let me put something to you that David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, said after you came out with your statement that you wanted a short-term ban on Muslims entering the US until, quotes, we figure out what's going on. David Cameron said this: Donald Trump is making a fundamental mistake of trying to blame all of Islam and all Muslims for what is the ideology and the actions of a minority. In many ways, it actually helps extremists because they want to create a clash of civilizations between Islam and the West. What Donald Trump says, in my view, is not only wrong, but actually makes the work we need to do to confront and defeat extremists more difficult. What's your response to that?
Well, all you have to do is look at the cities where this has taken place, where there's been a large inflow, and something's different. I mean, it's different. There's no assimilation. There's very little assimilation. For whatever reason, there's laws that they don't want to go by. They want to go by their own sets of laws. I called for a ban, a temporary ban on Muslims coming into the United States. Many people knew he was there, and yet he was the #1 wanted fugitive in the world. Okay, I mean, he lived right next to where he was living, and he was there, and everybody knew he was there. Everybody from that area knew he was there. Nobody turned him in. There's something going on, and there's something wrong. You know it, Piers, and so do I.
What people have said, Donald, is they believe that you're essentially anti-Muslim. Are you anti-Muslim?
I'm not anti-anything. I'm just common sense. I mean, I just say it like it is.
Well, there's certainly a lot of concern here. I think the way it was characterized was that your call for Muslims to be banned effectively meant that you were racist, that you were anti-Muslims per se.
Yeah.
If there are British Muslims watching this interview now, they'll be probably having that view of you from what they have seen and heard, because you've not given a major interview until now. What is your message to British Muslims who are law-abiding, who are not violent, and who are as horrified by what has been going on in Brussels and Paris and indeed in London as we are?
Well, I say stay the course, and I have great respect for Muslims. I have many friends that are Muslims. I'm just saying there is something with a radicalized portion that is very, very bad and very dangerous. It's like they're protecting each other, but they're really doing very bad damage. And they have to open up to society. They have to report the bad ones. And, you know, if you report the bad ones, all of a sudden you're not going to have the kind of problems. So there's something going on. And I would say this to the Muslims and in the United States also. When they see trouble, they have to report it. They're not reporting it. They're absolutely not reporting it. And that's a big problem.
You are a few months, potentially, Donald, a man I've known for 10 years and consider a good friend. You are a few months away, potentially, from becoming the leader of the free world, President of the United States. Some people, a poll in the New York Times said half of all voters find the idea of President Trump terrifying. People in Britain have said they're so terrified they want to try and ban you. What is your reaction or response to people who are scared of Donald Trump and terrified of a Donald Trump presidency?
Well, I don't think too many are. I mean, honestly, I'm a very normal person. I happen to be intelligent, very intelligent, I guess, based on certain results that I get at, doing things. But I'm a person that just wants to see things run properly. I don't want to see people hurt. I don't want to see crime. If you look, as an example, I took heat over the southern border. I took heat over the wall, all of that. Now everybody agrees that I'm right. And the crime coming through the southern border was astronomical, and people weren't even talking about it. If I didn't bring it up, it would not have even been a subject. I have a very good chance of winning. If I don't win, I have a very different kind of a life. And if I do win, I'll work very hard to make our country a safer place.